Alexander Hayes had the ring in his pocket. He was 30 seconds away from proposing to the woman of his dreams on Michigan Avenue. Then he saw them across the street. His ex-girlfriend from 5 years ago. The one he destroyed. And she was holding hands with 2 little boys who had his eyes, his hair, his face. At that moment, Alexander realized 3 things. First, those boys were his sons. Second, he had no idea they existed. And third, he was about to lose everything. Again. But before we continue, kindly hit the subscribe button and tell us where you are watching from. The engagement ring was in Alexander Hayes' pocket. The speech was memorized. In exactly 60 seconds, he was going to propose to Elena Martinez on a rooftop overlooking Manhattan, and she was going to say yes. Except none of that happened. Because 45 minutes before the proposal, Elena suggested they take a walk to calm his nerves. And 3 blocks from that rooftop, at a random crosswalk on Amsterdam Avenue, Alexander's entire world detonated. He saw her first. Sophie Chen. The woman he'd loved 5 years ago. The woman whose heart he'd shattered when she needed him most. Long dark hair, same delicate features, standing on the opposite corner, waiting for the light to change. But that's not what stopped his heart. It was the 2 children holding her hands. Identical twin boys, maybe 4 years old, wearing matching blue jackets. And when one of them looked up, just a casual glance across the street, Alexander saw his own eyes staring back at him. Not similar eyes, his exact eyes. The rare shade of blue his grandfather had. His father had. He had. Elena was saying something next to him. He couldn't hear her. Couldn't hear anything over the rushing in his ears. The second twin turned. Same eyes, same jawline. Same nose Alexander saw every morning in the mirror. The crosswalk signal turned green. Sophie took a step forward, laughing at something one of the boys said. She still hadn't seen him. And then she looked up. Their eyes met across 20 feet of asphalt, and Alexander watched all the color drain from her face. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. She stopped walking mid-step, causing the twins to stumble slightly, confused by their mother's sudden freeze. "Mommy, come on," one of them said, tugging her hand. But Sophie couldn't move. She was staring at Alexander like he was a ghost, risen from the grave. Because she knew. In that instant, she knew he'd figured it out. Alexander's body moved without permission. He stepped off the curb, walking toward her like a man in a trance. Other pedestrians flowed around him, annoyed at the guy blocking traffic. "Alex!" Elena grabbed his arm. "What are you doing?" He barely heard her. Sophie finally unfroze, pulling the twins protectively behind her as Alexander approached. They met in the middle of the crosswalk, while cars honked and the signal flashed. Sophie. Just her name. That's all he could. Get out. Her eyes were filling with tears. "Alexander, I can explain." "How old are they?" The question came out hollow. Mechanical. Like his brain had shut down everything except the need to know. Sophie's lips trembled. 4. They just turned 4. Alexander's math was instant and brutal. 4 years old meant they were born 9 months after the breakup. Which meant Sophie was pregnant when they ended things. When he'd ignored her calls. When he'd buried himself in his startup and pretended she didn't exist. "Are they mine?" Alexander asked, still surprised. One of the twins tugged on Sophie's jacket. "Mummy, who's that man?" Sophie couldn't answer, couldn't speak. A tear rolled down her cheek. She didn't have to answer. Alexander could see it in every feature of those children's faces. The way one of them chewed his lip when nervous. Alexander did that. The way the other one stood with his weight on one foot. Alexander stood exactly like that. Elena appeared at his shoulder, her voice sharp with confusion. "Alex, what the hell is going on? Who is this?" Sophie pulled the twins back, putting herself between them and Alexander. "We should go. This isn't—" "Don't!" Alexander's voice cracked. "Please, don't run. Not again." Eleanor's breathing changed. He could hear her putting it together. The resemblance, the ages, the desperation in his voice. "Oh my God, Eleanor whispered. Alex! Are those your children? The crosswalk signal went red. They were standing in the middle of the street now. More horns. People pulling out phones. Sophie's resolve finally broke. She nodded. Yes, they're his. 3 words that obliterated a billionaire's perfect life. Elena's hand dropped from Alexander's arm like he'd caught fire. You have children? I didn't know, Alexander said, his voice strangled. Elena, I swear to God I had no idea. How do you not know you have children? Elena's voice was rising. Other pedestrians were stopping now, watching the drama unfold. Please, Sophie begged, not here. The boys don't understand. Mommy, why is everyone yelling? One of the twins asked, his voice small and scared. Sophie scooped both children up, one on each hip. They were getting heavy for her. Alexander could see the strain. His sons, and he'd never even held them. I'll call you, Sophie said, backing away. Tomorrow, noon. Lincoln Park by the fountain. I'll bring them. We'll talk. But not like this. When? Sophie? You can't just... Tomorrow, Alexander, I promise. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And then she was gone, disappearing into the crowd, with 2 confused 4-year-olds asking why the strange man made Mommy cry. Alexander stood frozen in the middle of Amsterdam Avenue while his brain tried to process what had just happened. He had sons, plural, 2 of them, 4 years old, 4 years of birthdays and first words and first steps, and he'd missed all of it. Elena was staring at him like he'd transformed into someone she didn't recognize. The ring in your pocket, she said, her voice dead. You were going to propose tonight. Alexander couldn't speak. His throat had closed completely. And you have sons, twin sons, with your ex-girlfriend. She laughed. A horrible broken sound that made other pedestrians look away uncomfortably. What the fuck, Alexander, what the fuck? She turned and started walking away. Elena, wait! Alexander finally found his voice. Please, just let me explain. She whipped around, and he saw tears streaming down her face. Rage and betrayal and heartbreak, all mixed together. Explain what? How you accidentally fathered twins and somehow never noticed. How you told me your ex was ancient history while you obviously never got over her. What exactly are you going to explain, Alex? I didn't know, I swear I didn't know, Alexander pleaded. But you know now. And I saw your face when you looked at those kids. When you looked at her. Elena ripped off the diamond bracelet he'd given her for their anniversary and threw it at his chest. It bounced off and clattered to the sidewalk. I can't do this. I can't compete with a ghost and 2 children who have your eyes. You're not competing with anyone, Alexander said. Then why does it feel like I just lost everything? Elena yelled. She was backing away now, shaking her head. I need time. I need to think. Don't call me. Don't text me. Just don't. Elena, please. Goodbye, Alexander. And then she was gone too. Both women, both futures, vanished in the span of 5 minutes. Alexander stood alone on that corner as the sun set and the city rushed past him like he didn't exist. The engagement ring was still in his pocket. His phone was blowing up with text from Elena's friends, from his business partner, from people who'd already seen the crosswalk confrontation posted on social media. But all he could think about was those blue eyes, those identical little faces. The way one of them had almost reached for his hand before Sophie pulled him back. 4 years. He'd missed 4 entire years of their lives. And tomorrow at noon, he was going to meet his sons for the first time. If he showed up, he could walk away right now, pretend this never happened. Chase after Eleanor, salvage his perfect life. Those kids didn't know him. Sophie had raised them alone this long. She could keep doing it. He could pay child support quietly and never disrupt anyone's world. He could be a check in the mail instead of a father. Alexander pulled out his phone with shaking hands, stared at it for a long moment. Then he did something he hadn't done in 5 years. He searched for Sophie's number in his old contacts. She'd changed it, obviously, but he found her on LinkedIn, still in tech. working for a startup in Brooklyn. He sent her a message. "I'll be there tomorrow, noon, I promise." 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally. "Okay, thank you." Alexander pocketed his phone and started walking, not back to the rooftop where champagne was probably getting warm and a private chef was wondering where his client went. Just walking. Trying to process the fact that 6 hours ago he was a billionaire with a perfect girlfriend and a perfect plan. And now he was a father who'd abandoned his children without even knowing they existed. Tomorrow at noon, everything would change again. The question was, did he have the guts to show up? Alexander arrived at Lincoln Park at 11:47 a.m. He couldn't sit, couldn't stand still, just paced near the fountain like a caged animal while joggers and dog walkers streamed past, completely unaware that his entire life was about to split into before and after. At 11:58, he saw them. Sophie walked slowly across the grass, holding both twins' hands. She'd dressed them in different coloured shirts today, one in red, one in blue, like she wanted him, to be able to tell them apart. The thought made something crack in his chest. When she got close enough, she stopped. 10 feet of distance between them. A canyon neither knew how to cross. "Boys," Sophie said softly, crouching down to their level. "Remember the man from yesterday? He's going to talk to Mommy for a bit. Can you play on the swings where I can see you?" "The tall man with the blue eyes?" the one in red asked. Alexander's throat closed. "Yes, baby. Go play. Stay close." Both boys ran off toward the playground, already arguing about who got which swing. Sophie watched them go, then finally looked at Alexander. Her eyes were red. She hadn't slept either. "Hi," she said. "Don't." Alexander's voice came out harder than he meant. "Don't act like this is casual. Don't hi me like we ran into each other at Starbucks." Sophie flinched. "I don't know what else to say." "How about the truth? How about an explanation for why I have 4-year-old sons I didn't know, existed until yesterday? You want the truth?" Sophie's composure cracked. "Fine. I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks after you dumped me. I called you 17 times. 17. You sent every single call to voicemail." Alexander opened his mouth, closed it. He remembered those calls. Remembered seeing her name and hitting decline because he was too angry, too raw, too convinced she was trying to manipulate him back. "I left messages," Sophie continued, her voice shaking. "I sent emails, long ones explaining everything. You never responded. So I came to your office." "I never saw you at my office," Alexander denied, "because your assistant, Rebecca, the one with the perfect nails, told me you'd given explicit instructions. No visits from Sophie Chen. Ever. She actually apologized while she was kicking me out. Said you'd been very clear." Alexander felt the ground tilt. He had said that. He remembered. The week after their breakup, furious and hurt, he'd told Rebecca to block Sophie completely. No calls, no visits, nothing. "After 2 months of trying," Sophie said, tears streaming now, "I gave up. I figured if you hated me that much, if you wanted me gone that badly, you probably didn't want to be a father either." "You should have tried harder," Alexander's voice rose. People on nearby benches looked over. "You should have showed up at my apartment, sent a fucking telegram, something." "I was 23 years old, pregnant with twins, and you had made it. Crystal clear you never wanted to see me again," Sophie shouted back. "What was I supposed to do? Camp outside your building? Get a court order forcing you to listen?" "Yes! If that's what it took, yes!" Alexander snapped. "For what? So you could accuse me of trapping you, of baby-trapping the billionaire startup founder?" Sophie laughed bitterly. "I knew how that would look, Alex. I knew what people would say, that I got pregnant on purpose to lock you down." "I would never have thought that," he said. "Wouldn't you?" Sophie's eyes blazed. "The last thing you said to me, the last thing, was that I was too needy, too clingy, that you couldn't build an empire with someone who needed constant reassurance. You said I was holding you back." Alexander remembered. God, he remembered. He'd been cruel. Deliberately cruel, because he'd wanted to hurt her the way he thought she'd hurt him. And then, 2 weeks later, I found out I was carrying your children, Sophie continued. Twins. Do you know what that's like? To be terrified and alone and mourning sick and knowing the father of your babies thinks you're a burden. I was an asshole, I know that. But you still should have, he admitted. I did everything I could, Sophie screamed. The playground went quiet. Even the twins stopped swinging to look over. Sophie lowered her voice, trembling. I tried, Alexander. I tried so hard. And when you made it impossible, I made a choice. I chose to protect my babies from a father who didn't want them. Our babies. They're our babies, he said. Are they? Sophie's laugh was broken. You didn't change a single diaper, didn't walk the floor at 3 a.m. when they had colic, didn't hold them through fevers or teach them to walk or dry their tears when they fell. I did that, alone, for 4 years. So forgive me if I don't see them as ours. Alexander felt like he'd been punched. That's not fair. None of this is fair. Sophie wiped her eyes. You think this is what I wanted? To raise twins alone while working 60-hour weeks? To watch them ask why they don't have a daddy like other kids? To lie and say their father was far away when the truth was, I had no idea where you even were. I'm right here now. 4 years too late. The words hung between them like a guillotine blade. One of the twins, the one in blue, ran over, concerned. Mommy, why are you crying? Sophie immediately composed herself, wiping her face. I'm okay, baby. Just grown-up talk. Is the tall man making you sad? The boy turned to Alexander with surprising fierceness. You shouldn't make my mommy cry. Alexander's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. His son, was defending Sophie from him. You're right, Alexander said, crouching down to the boy's level. I shouldn't. I'm sorry. The twins studied him suspiciously, then ran back to the swings. Sophie watched him go, then turned back to Alexander. What do you want, Alex? Really? Why are you here? They're my sons, Alexander said. Biologically, yes. But what does that mean to you? Are you here because you actually want to be their father? Or because your ego can't handle the fact that something in this world exists without your knowledge or control, Sophie said. The accusation stung because there was truth in it. Alexander had spent all night asking himself the same question. I don't know, he admitted. I don't know how to be a father. I don't know if I'll be any good at it. But they're mine, Sophie, and I can't just walk away. Can't or won't? What's the difference? Everything. Sophie's voice dropped. If you can't walk away because of guilt or obligation, you'll resent them eventually. But if you won't walk away because you actually want them in your life, that's different. I want to know them, Alexander said. I want to be their father. I want all the things I missed. You can't have what you missed. Those years are gone. Then I want what's left, whatever time there is. I want to know their favorite colors and their favorite foods. I want to teach them things. His voice broke. I want them to know I exist. Sophie studied his face for a long moment. They can't know you're their father. Not yet. What? Why not? Alexander said. Because you're still a stranger to them, Alexander. You show up claiming to be their dad. It'll terrify them. We have to do this slowly. How slowly? Alexander asked. I don't know. We figure it out as we go. You can visit, spend time with them, let them get comfortable. And when the time is right, Sophie assured. When you decide the time is right. Yes, Sophie said firmly, because I'm the one who's been here. I'm the one who knows them, and I'm the one who'll pick up the pieces if you decide this is too hard and disappear. I'm not going to disappear, Alexander pleaded. You already did. Once. Sophie's voice was quiet but cutting. How do I know you won't do it again? Alexander had no answer for that, no proof, no guarantee, just a desperate need to be part of his children's lives. What about the woman from yesterday? Sophie asked suddenly. Your girlfriend. Fiancée, maybe, based on how dressed up you both were. Sophie's eyes were sharp. Does she know you're here? We broke up last night, after everything, Alexander confessed. Sophie's expression flickered with something. Sympathy? Relief? He couldn't tell. I'm sorry, she said, and sounded like she meant it. Don't be. You were right about something. The way I looked at you, at them. Elena saw it too. Alexander ran a hand through his hair. I don't know what I feel, Sophie, about you, about this. But those boys deserve better than a part-time father who's only here out of obligation. So what are you offering? Sophie asked. Everything, whatever you'll let me give. Weekends, weekdays, holidays, child support, obviously, but more than that, time, presence. I want to be their dad. Sophie looked toward the playground, where the twins were now racing each other across the monkey bars, laughing and carefree. Every other Saturday, she said finally, you can take them for a few hours. We tell them you're a friend of mine, someone who wants to hang out, nothing more until they're comfortable. That's not enough. It's what I'm offering. Take it or leave it. Alexander wanted to argue, wanted to demand more, wanted to hire lawyers and fight for custody and force his way into their lives. But looking at Sophie's face, exhausted and protective and barely holding together, he realized she was right. He'd lost the right to demand anything 4 years ago. Okay, he said, every other Saturday. And Alexander, Sophie's voice turned hard. If you miss one visit, if you cancel or show up late or make them wait for someone who doesn't come, I'll cut you off completely. They've never had a father. They won't miss what they never had. But if you make them love you and then leave, I'll never forgive you. I understand. Do you? Because those boys are my entire world. I will burn everything down before I let someone hurt them. Even you. Especially you. The threat was clear. The mama bear protecting her cubs. I won't hurt them, Alexander promised. We'll see. The twins ran back over, sweaty and grinning. Mommy, can we get ice cream? The one in red asked. Please, 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 the one in blue added. Sophie smiled despite everything. Sure, babies. Go get your jackets. As they ran off, she turned back to Alexander one last time. This Saturday, 10 a.m. here at the park. Don't be late. I won't. And Alex? Sophie's voice softened slightly. For what it's worth, I really did try to tell you. Then she called the twins over, took their hands, and walked away. Alexander watched his sons leave, with the woman who'd raised them alone, the woman he'd loved and destroyed and maybe still loved. He didn't know anymore. What he did know, his perfect life, was gone. Elena was gone. His certainty about everything was gone. All that was left were 2 little boys in mismatched shirts who didn't know their father was standing 50 feet away, watching them disappear into the crowd. Saturday couldn't come fast enough, and it terrified him. Alexander arrived at 9:47 a.m. He'd been awake since 4 a.m., changing outfits 6 times like a teenager on a first date. What did you wear to meet your sons? A suit felt too formal. Jeans felt too casual. He'd settled on dark jeans and a sweater, then spent 20 minutes in the toy store buying everything the salesperson recommended. Now he stood by the fountain with 3 shopping bags full of toys, feeling like an idiot. Sophie arrived at exactly 10 a.m. with the twins. She saw the bags, and her expression tightened. Alex, I know, I went overboard. I didn't know what they liked. The twins were already peering into the bags, eyes wide. Is all that for us? The one in blue whispered. This is my friend Alex, Sophie said carefully. He wanted to hang out today. Is that okay? Both boys nodded, still staring at the bags. Sophie pulled Alexander aside while the twins investigated their haul. Don't buy their love, she said quietly. It won't work. I'm not trying to... You are, and I get it, but they don't need toys. They need consistency. Alexander nodded, chastened. 4 hours, Sophie said. I'll be back at 2 p.m. My number's on if there's an emergency. Wait, you're leaving? Panic flooded his chest. You wanted time with them. Here's your time. Sophie kissed both twins on the head. Be good for Alex, okay? Listen to what he says. Where are you going? The one in red asked, suddenly uncertain. Just some errands, Noah. I'll be back soon. Noah. Alexander locked the name in his brain. Name. Red shirt was Noah. And what about you? Alexander asked the one in blue, trying to sound casual. I'm Ethan, the boy said, then went back to examining a toy truck. Noah and Ethan. His sons had names and faces and personalities, and he'd missed 4 years of learning them. Sophie left. Alexander stood alone with 2 4-year-olds who were eyeing him like a strange dog, interested but wary. So, Alexander said, what do you guys like to do? Play, Ethan said, like it was obvious. Okay, what kind of… Tag, Noah shouted, and took off running. Ethan squealed and chased after him. Alexander stood there unsure, then realized they expected him to play too. He dropped the bags and ran after them, feeling ridiculous and liberated at the same time. For the next hour, Alexander Hayes, billionaire, tech founder, man who negotiated million-dollar deals, played tag with 2 4-year-olds in Lincoln Park. He was terrible at it. The twins were fast and fearless, darting between benches and around trees while Alexander huffed behind them. Other parents smiled knowingly. An older woman called out, "They'll tire you out faster than any gym." Finally, Alexander collapsed on a bench, gasping. Time out. Daddy's old. The words slipped out before he could stop it. Both twins froze. You're not our daddy, Noah said matter of fact. We don't have a daddy. Alexander's heart cracked. Right, sorry. I just meant grown-ups say that sometimes. When they're tired. Ethan climbed onto the bench next to him. Our daddy's far away, that's what Mommy says. Yeah, Noah added, sitting on Alexander's other side. But it's okay. We have Mommy, and that's enough. Alexander couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. These boys, his boys, had decided they didn't need a father because they'd never had one. Do you want a daddy? Alexander asked before he could stop himself. Both twins considered this seriously. Maybe, Ethan said. Sometimes kids at school talk about their daddies, playing catch and stuff. I could teach you to play catch, Alexander said. You know how? Noah's eyes lit up. Yeah, my dad taught me when I was your age. Where's your daddy now? Ethan asked. He died, a long time ago. Both boys looked stricken. That's sad, Noah said. Yeah, it is. But I remember all the things he taught me. That's how he's still with me. Ethan scooted closer. If you teach us stuff, will you remember us too? The question destroyed him. I'll remember everything about you, Alexander promised. They played for another 2 hours. Alexander taught them to throw a football badly. They taught him the rules of some complicated game involving sticks and rocks that made no sense. They ate hot dogs from a vendor, and Noah announced he wanted extra ketchup like Alex, and Alexander realized this kid was already copying him. At 1:45, while the twins were distracted by a street performer, Alexander's phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. How's it going? Alexander typed. They're perfect. I don't want to give them back. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Another text from Sophie. Don't make me regret this. Alexander typed. I won't. I promise. At 2 p.m. sharp, Sophie appeared. Both twins ran to her, talking over each other about their day. And Alex knows how to throw a football. And he bought us trucks. And he's really slow at tag. Sophie met Alexander's eyes over their heads. Something passed between them. An understanding, maybe. Or a truce. Did you have fun? She asked them. So much fun, they chorused. Can Alex come back next Saturday? Noah asked. Sophie looked at Alexander. Do you want to come back? Alexander crouched down to the twins' level. More than anything. Then it's a deal, Sophie said. Next Saturday. As they walked away, Ethan turned and waved. Alexander waved back, watching until they disappeared around a corner. His phone buzzed again. Sophie. They're already asking when they'll see you again. Alexander. What did you tell them? Sophie. The truth. That you'll be back. Don't make me a liar, Alex. Alexander stood in the empty park as the sun started to set, and for the first time in 5 years he felt like his life might actually mean something. His phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. I saw the photos of you with some women and kids in the park. Are we really over? Elena's message read. Alexander stared at the message for a long moment. Then he blocked the number. Some doors, once closed, should stay closed. He had 4 hours every other Saturday to learn how to be a father, and he wasn't going to waste a single second. 3 months passed. Every other Saturday, Alexander showed up at 10 a.m. sharp. He never missed, never cancelled, never was late. He learned that Noah loved dinosaurs, and Ethan was terrified of loud noises, that they both hated broccoli but would eat anything, with cheese. That Ethan chewed his lip when nervous, just like Alexander did. That Noah stood with his weight on one foot, exactly like Alexander. He learned what it felt like to be loved unconditionally by 2 people who didn't even know he was their father. It was killing him. When can I tell them? Alexander asked Sophie one Saturday as they watched the twins play. Not yet. It's been 3 months, Sophie. They ask why I only come on Saturdays. They ask why I can't come to their birthday party next week. Sophie turned to him. You want to come to their birthday party? Of course I do. It's their 5th birthday. I already missed 4. Alex, I love them. The words burst out. I know I have no right to. I know I wasn't there. But I love them, Sophie. And lying to them is destroying me. Sophie was quiet for a long moment. Okay, she said finally. Okay? Come to the birthday party. After the other kids leave, we'll tell them. Together. The party was chaos. 20 kindergartners hopped up on sugar, running through Sophie's small apartment like a hurricane. Alexander stayed in the corner, helping with cake and taking photos, watching his sons blow out candles and make wishes. When the last parent picked up their kid, Sophie locked the door and took a deep breath. Boys, come sit down. Alex and I need to talk to you. Both twins climbed onto the couch, suspicious. Are you in trouble? Ethan asked Alexander. No, buddy. Nobody's in trouble. Sophie sat down next to them. Alexander stayed standing, too nervous to sit. Remember how you asked about your daddy? Sophie said gently. Both boys nodded. And I said he was far away. Another nod. Well, I wasn't exactly telling the truth. Noah's eyes went wide. You lied? No, baby. I didn't know how to explain. Sophie's voice shook. Your daddy wasn't far away. He just didn't know you existed. How could he not know? Ethan asked, confused. It's complicated. Grown-up stuff, but... Sophie looked at Alexander. He knows now. The silence stretched. Where is he? Noah asked. Alexander's heart was pounding so hard he thought it might explode. Sophie reached out and took Alexander's hand, pulled him closer. He's right here, she whispered. Both twins looked at Alexander, then at Sophie, then back at Alexander. Alex is our daddy? Ethan's voice was small. Alexander dropped to his knees in front of them. Yeah, buddy, I am. Noah's face crumpled. But you didn't want us. No, that's not... Alexander's voice broke. I didn't know about you. If I had known, I would have been here from the very first second, I promise. Then why didn't you know? Noah demanded. Because I made mistakes. Big ones. I hurt your mum, and because of that I missed the most important thing in the world. You two. Ethan was crying now. Why did you only come on Saturdays? Because your mum wanted to make sure I wasn't going to leave. Again. She was protecting you. Are you going to leave? Noah asked. Never. Not ever. Not for anything. Promise? I promise. Both twins launched themselves at him. Alexander caught them, holding on like they might disappear if he let go. He was crying. They were crying. Sophie was crying. I'm sorry, Alexander whispered into their hair. I'm so sorry I wasn't here. It's okay, Ethan said. You're here now. Noah pulled back. Can we call you Daddy? Alexander couldn't speak, just nodded. Daddy, Noah said, testing the word. Daddy, Ethan repeated, the word he'd never thought he'd hear, the title he'd never thought he'd earn. They fell asleep an hour later, exhausted from the party and the emotions, curled up on either side of Alexander on the couch. Sophie sat across from them, watching. Thank you, Alexander said quietly. For what? For giving me a chance. For not giving up on me. I didn't do it for you, Sophie said. I did it for them. I know, but still, thank you. They sat in silence while the twins snored softly. What happens now? Sophie asked. I don't know. We will figure it out. Together. Together, Sophie repeated, like she was trying out the word. Alexander looked at her, really looked at her for the first time since the crosswalk. She was still beautiful. Still the woman he'd loved 5 years ago. Still the woman he'd destroyed. I'm sorry, he said, for everything. For the things I said, for not listening, for missing all of this. I'm sorry too, for not trying harder, for giving up. You didn't give up, you survived, Sophie smiled sadly. We both did, Ethan stirred, mumbling in his sleep. Love you, Daddy. Alexander's eyes filled with tears again. I love you too, buddy. He looked at Sophie. I know I don't deserve it. I know I have no right to ask, but I want to be in their lives, really in their lives, not just Saturdays. What are you asking for? Everything. Weekends, holidays, school pickups, all of it. That's a lot. I know. And what about us? Sophie asked quietly. Alexander's breath caught. What about us? Do we try again? Do we stay strangers who share custody? What are we, Alex? I don't know, he admitted. But I know I never stopped loving you. Even when I hated you, I loved you. That's not enough. I know, but it's a start. Sophie looked at the twins, then back at Alexander. Okay, she said. We start, slowly, for them. For them, Alexander agreed. Noah woke up enough to mumble, Is Daddy staying? Yeah, baby, Sophie said. Daddy's staying. Good, Noah said, and went back to sleep. Alexander looked at his sons, sleeping peacefully for the first time knowing who their father was. He'd missed their first steps, their first words. 4 birthdays. 1,000 moments he could never get back. But he was here now, and he wasn't going anywhere. If you enjoyed this episode, like, comment, and subscribe for more. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay updated, share the story with friends, and join us for more stories.